Hey, good
All right.
morning.
Good morning.
Well, tell me about like I don't come to the high school, so you're a special ed teacher?
No,
Or
ma'am. I'm
no,
a general PE teacher.
general. General, okay.
I have our adaptive students are on my third block. So I have Miss Busby's and
Okay, okay.
Churchwell's students.
Yes, yes.
And it's an absolute joy. They really make my day,
Well,
honestly.
most of those kids have come through Glen Middle, so I'm served Glen Middle, so I know most of the kids. But once they get to high school, another OT, and there's four of us in the county, and we have another position open because we just lost one, and so we divide and conquer the whole county, everything from early intervention, starting
Mhm.
at the age of 3, all the way up to the high schoolers. And my love is with the elementary and middle school kids. So high
Okay.
school gets a little too big for me.
High school is good. See, I think opposite. I'm still new to fatherhood, and I have a 4-year-old, and
Okay,
she
yeah,
taught
yeah.
me a lot of patience, and I still acknowledge that I don't have very much. So I would be like terrified to teach at the elementary school level.
Well, you'll learn some patience. You'll get the patience quicker, and then you learn some strategies on how not to raise your child, or how I'm
Mhm.
going to teach this and not this, or
Yeah.
whatever. But
Okay.
so you're getting your master's,
I'm
and what are
getting
you
my
getting
master's
your
at
master's
Georgia State and in health and PE.
in health and PE? Okay, okay. All right. And
So
how long have you been at Glenn Academy?
this is my third year.
Third year. Okay.
Almost in 2015. Mhm.
Okay. So I am on my 15th year of
Okay,
working here in the Glynn County school system, but I've been an OT for 30 years,
that's
right
awesome.
at 30 years. I can't believe it. So I've worked in the private sector in a hospital with stroke and head injury prior, before I moved here. And then when I moved here, I worked in a private clinic, and I was their first OT. It was a physical therapy clinic, and I was their first OT. And then I did some contract work in Camden County Schools for a couple years, working part time. And that was the time when I had my kids. I was a new mom, so I didn't want to work full time. And then I came on here, and I've worked full time for.
15 years, and you've always been at Glen Middle?
Well, I'm based here. So my office is at Glen Middle, and I travel out. So um, this is one kind of a unique thing that I love about my job is every day is a different day. So like on Mondays, I serve one school. Let's see, what am I on Mondays? Mondays, I'm at Satilla Elementary, and I do go over to Risley Middle for a little bit after that. And then Tuesdays, I'm at another elementary school all day. Wednesday, I'm at an Altama Elementary. Thursday, I go back to Altama again, and then I come back to Glen Middle and serve our kids here. And then on Fridays, I am at Sterling, and then I go to Jane Macon. So I am all over the place. So every day is a different day, different kids, different teachers. So I don't, it's never boring for
I
sure.
would say that's so interesting, that
Yeah,
you really get to touch a lot of schools in the
yeah.
county,
And that's
and
like you met Mr. Ian.
Mhm.
He's at every school
Yeah,
practically.
yeah,
So
that's pretty cool. That's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, my work day is, begins at 8 o'clock. I start off with personal fitness.
Okay.
And I have those kids for 45 minutes, and I take them to my health class where I'm at now, and we do health for 45 minutes. Second block, planning. Third block, I have a whopping total of 15 kids. Um, and that's split up. I have 8 for the first 45 and 7 for the second 45.
Okay.
And that's advanced personal fitness, which we kind of integrated into team sports.
Okay.
And fourth block, I have 2 kids.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good one-on-one almost, huh?
Yeah. So, but during the fall semester, that fourth block was 67 kids. So I guess
Well,
they cut
and
me
this
a break.
year we are, in a very hard year with COVID. None of us have ever experienced this, and I think it's pushed our limits. It's made us learn. I mean, just like us being able to do a Google Meet right now.
Hmm.
I just got off of a Google Meet IEP meeting, and I mean, I love it because it has cut down on my travel. Because if I'm at a school and I have an IEP meeting at another school, normally I would have to hop in my car, drive to that
Drive over.
school, and then drive back. And by the time I've done all that, I've missed about an hour or hour and a half of therapy time. So
Yes.
Google Meet has been my best friend, and I think I'll always choose to do that, because if I'm at a school that day, all I have to do is log on for the IEP at the other school,
Hmm.
and it's been good. I'm able to be multiple places at one, and not have to stress about missing many kids and hopping in my car and driving, and then
COVID has definitely forced us to, adapt.
Mhm.
It's brought forth, many great things and changes that I think should stay in place. Like I love Google Meet
Yep,
or
me too.
Zoom or whatever the platform is. It's
Right.
effective, it's best as we could get, being face to face and
Yep.
still get, great communication and get our work done.
Yeah. And I've had a good many parents that are attending through Google Meet. If they can't for some reason figure out how to do it, they
Mhm.
call in. So we've really tried to, and there have been a few occasional ones that have come into the school, but we really discourage that, just to try to you
Yeah.
know, keep everybody safe and not in a big conference room, because an IEP meeting for our kids could be 6, 7, 8 people in a meeting, because you're looking at all the therapies, and, a lot of my kids will receive speech therapy, occupation, myself, and then adaptive PE, and some of them have physical therapy. So you're looking at already right there 4 therapies, and then you've got your gen ed teacher, your special ed teacher, you know,
Yeah.
parents, counselor, school counselor. So sometimes um, deaf and hard of hearing teachers are there as well. So it could get big. So, all
Quickly. Yeah. All right. Well, I'll get
right,
into
I'm gonna let you get
a
started.
few questions. First, I would just like to know your educational history, and your career path. Well, you began to speak on it, but just, where you went to school and,
Okay.
what really got you into your career.
Okay, so I went to College of Charleston, and got my BS in uh, biology there.
Hmm.
So I went 4 years of college, and while I was in college, I knew I wanted to be a therapist. I just always I'm very lucky to be that person that said this is what I want to be, but I didn't know which therapist I wanted. So as when I was in college, I started volunteering at the hospital there. And so I went first to physical therapy department and volunteered, and then I kind of started meeting the OTs. And I was like, wait a minute, I think I like that. So then I started volunteering in the OT department. So I would work my classes around, so that I'd have, when you're in college, you can kind of fix your own schedule. And then I would go and volunteer. And so I decided on OT. And also, I had a cousin who was an occupational therapist, and I had spent a little bit of time with her,
Hmm.
and, just kind of being a mentor for me. But I then applied to therapy school, and it was a 2-year program way back 30 years ago. And so I then transferred and went to therapy school, and then I ended up working at the hospital. So it was at the Medical University of South Carolina in Charleston.
Okay.
And I worked there for about 7 years on their rehab floor, where I worked with stroke and head injury adult patients. And then I got married and I moved here, and that's when I worked in a private clinic, and I was their first OT there. And so mostly that older age um, group of patients here. And then I started having a family, and I wanted a little more change and be home. So I then went into the school system. And I always said I'd never work with kids. I was that adult stroke head injury patient. And I did a clinical in school. We had to do a clinical in rehab and mental health. And I knew mental health was really not my cup of tea. And I also tried a little bit of home health, and that really wasn't my thing either. And I didn't think I'd ever end up with pediatrics or with children. But I'm like, I'll never go back to adults. I love my kids. So
All right. So that kind of leads into my next question, which you already hit on. So having 30 years of experience, which do you find more enjoyable? Is it school
Kids.
setting or private practice?
School. I love the school. Well, and you work in the school. So I can be home with my kids when we have holidays. I can be home during the summer. And I have an option to work our extended school year. So if I wanted to provide therapy services, and I usually do 1 month, me and the other OT, we do our extended school year program. And so if I want to do that, I can do that during the summer. But I like the flexibility. Now my kids are in college, and I still like the flexibility. So I don't think I'll ever change.
Yeah, definitely. Working for the school system, the time off that we have is a great
you're
thing.
not going to make the money. I can make more money working in a private clinic or working in a nursing home or at the hospital, but it's not all about the money.
Yes, it's about satisfaction. Like I was like throughout college, my coaches, would say, "Man, you'll be a great coach, working with kids." I was like, "No, I absolutely don't want to work with kids. I love what I do."
Yeah,
I've been doing it for 3 years, and there hasn't been a day where I woke up and like, man, I don't want to go to work.
Right.
I love what I do. Teaching and coaching football and basketball is pure joy. So
you look like a coach. You got
I'm a former collegiate and pro ball player. I played football at the University of West Georgia and had a short stint with the Falcons and arena football. And my connection to Glynn is Coach Hart. He's the offensive coordinator here.
Okay.
He was my offensive line coach. A former Glynn Academy student, David Bailey, he played with me. He was our running back. While I played. So those two got me down here. Now I married Coach Haywood's daughter, the head basketball coach here. You may know his wife, Sinitra Haywood.
Oh, okay. I do. Okay. Yes. Okay. I know that name. I don't know her, but I know who she is. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm here for good. This is home.
Well, isn't that great? It's so funny how all our little paths kind of, things just fall into place.
Yes, ma'am. All right. So my next question is, does the county, does our district provide you with personal development opportunities?
Yes. Okay. So because I'm based here at Glen Middle, I do answer to the principal here, but my overall person I answer to is our director of special ed, Dr. Pam McKinnon, and she is very supportive of our development. All of us OTs just completed of course it was virtual, but it was an all-day seminar on telehealth and how to provide OT services. And, OT is a very hands-on type of therapy, just like physical therapy. And, and it's hard to be hands-on in this world right now. And how do you provide, and then our caseload are special education kids who may have issues with following directions. A lot of times they may need hand over hand guidance for doing activities. So how do you do that over virtual? And so those are some of the challenges, but yes, they are very supportive. We order a lot of adaptive equipment for our kids, and our budget is very good. If we feel like a child needs, a weighted vest, if they need some flexible seating to help them concentrate and attend, she is very supportive. So they've always been very proactive. I feel like we are staying up to date.
Yes.
Therapy techniques through that. So,
Awesome. All right. So that kind of leads into my next question. With the season that we're in with COVID-19, what is now the hardest part of your job?
well, I think I probably just answered some of that. It is, I bounce back and forth. Like during a school day, I will be in a classroom, a special ed. I can be in a self-contained classroom, and then an hour later, I could be pulling a child out of their classroom, working, doing occupational therapy. But then the next hour, I could be hooked up onto my computer doing a virtual session. So you talk about flexibility, jumping around, and you know, working with our special ed population and doing virtual is a challenge because some kids can follow my directions. Sometimes, just like this week, I had to get the child to get his mom to be, some of them I can handle just us, but sometimes I need that adult to be right there to help guide the child. But you've got to be very flexible to jump around
Okay.
doing all those different modes of therapy.
Absolutely. So are most of your sessions in the self-contained classroom or just, one-on-one session? One-on-one setting?
Well,
If you are
it's a whole mixture.
okay.
I would say most of my day would be in a self-contained classroom. Most of all my kids in a self-contained classroom receive OT services. And so I usually am in that classroom maybe from about an hour and a half at a time. And it can be a small group setting. I jump around. It kind of depends on the child's needs. Everything is based on the child's needs and the IEP goals.
Yes.
We have a lot of fun too. We do cooking. We'll do exercise, especially now where we're not able to get outside or move around as much. We do a lot of movement, which helps with the sensory and helps with the attention. And then we do, of course, fine motor activities.
Okay. All right. So speaking of IEPs, what is your role? Well, just to backtrack, that was our unit last week. So I had to
Okay.
create
Okay.
the entire IEP, which was extremely challenging for me, but I think I did well.
Okay.
Because my experience with IEPs has, before COVID was to attend an IEP meeting.
Right.
Oftentimes, a coach needed a gen ed teacher and I was
Right.
available.
Right.
Or this year has been the most I've been involved with Ms. Busby IEPs where,
Right.
they're actually asking for input on a child.
Mhm.
It's been very interesting. Like I'm so interested in IEPs and just the laws, special education. So what is your role in terms to the IEP?
Okay. So the IEP is a team. We are a team, and I think we function well as a team. I really am blessed with good teachers. We all really support each other. So, as a related service, the teacher and I work on collaborating together on the goals. So we talk about what the need is on that particular child. We develop a goal, and then of course the parent is part of that team as well. We really, like I just got off an IEP meeting before your meeting, and it's I give my information. I ask the parent if they have any questions or concerns. We talk about what we see at school and what kind of adaptive. Like I was just talking about a child who he's in kindergarten or pre-K and he's holding his pencil like this. So that is not a functional grasp. And so what kind of things can we do? So I gave them a pencil grip. I broke crayons into small pieces so it forces he can't grab a crayon like that. So it forces and it's developmental. And this child particularly was diagnosed with autism. So we've got a lot of, areas to work on. But I think, I work closely with the physical therapist, the adaptive PE, and the speech therapist. And we all, and of course, the special ed teacher. So I think we have a good team here. So we come to talking about the needs and then developing the goals to center around that.
Okay. Well, you just answered a lot of questions for me. What is your first priority when working with a student?
Well, the first priority I think is finding out what do I need to help them with? What are
Mhm.
their needs to be successful in the classroom? Fine motor skills can be anything from their writing skills to using scissors, anything to make them independent in the classroom. It can be also work with kids with feeding. If they need adaptive equipment like a built up spoon. Some kids, you know, tend to finger feed. They don't really know how to grasp. So we kind of come into that part with helping with that. The sensory thing, especially with our autistic population, it's a big thing. We kids won't sit. They are moving around. They can't help it. Their body is in just continual motion. But in order to learn, we've got to be able to attend and sit. So we
Sure.
talk about strategies. So I feel like identifying the child's needs in the classroom and then coming up with a plan. How are we going to help them?
Okay. So to help you identify the child's specific needs, what type of, common formative assessments or just tests in general do you use?
So we do. I have the child that, for example, the IEP that I just attended, he did, because of his autistic tendencies, he does have some sensory problems. So I have the sensory profile measure, and
Mhm.
it's a teacher questionnaire. And we look at the teacher rates the child, it's a rating. We look at all the sensory areas, the vision, the hearing, and the vision is their visual attention to the teacher, visual attention to their work. Hearing is whether they can hear and listen to the directions, or some of our kids have concerns with like loud noises. They can't handle loud noises. They can't handle being in a cafeteria. They can't handle assemblies. So how do we deal with that? It looks at balance and movement. And then there's also a home questionnaire, so I can ask a parent to fill out the questionnaire, so we can kind of compare what the teacher and the school is seeing to also what the parent is seeing at home, and so how we address that. I also do some visual perceptual testing, so I look at how they draw or imitate forms, like whether we start off simple with a circle, a line, then it gradually gets bigger. So is there a visual perceptual issue that may be hindering the child from progressing to forming letters? I
Okay.
always look at a pencil grasp, because that's the one thing. If you aren't holding a pencil or a crayon the correct way, then that's going to impact you the rest of your school. I just saw a sixth grader, and he's got the most awkward pencil graph. Is he functional? Am I going to be able to change that at sixth grade? Those are some of the questions we have to look at. The earlier we can address it, the better off we're going to be.
So early intervention is highly important, as
Yes.
always. Yes. Okay. All right. So can you give some examples of what are your responsibilities when working with students with disabilities that cannot be done by the adaptive PE teacher?
Yeah, we are a team, but we all kind of have our little specialty areas. And again, as an adaptive PE here, and he works. We do have some things will overlap. Like there may be a child that we're working on. He's working on like um, catching a ball, grasping or holding on to a ball. Well, in the classroom, I'm working on holding on a pencil or putting your hands into the scissors on an elementary. It's elementary, middle, and high school OT changes. Okay,
Yeah.
so when I'm working with a child in middle school, like today, I met with a special ed teacher and we talked about this child's handwriting. He can't even read his own handwriting, but yet we're in sixth grade. What are we going to do about it now?
Hmm.
So we are moving into offering that child a computer to type so that he can use a Chromebook to take notes and to type instead of putting him through the stress and frustration of writing an essay or doing paragraphs, handwriting. He can use the computer to type. So, and then we also have, if a child has trouble with spelling, we have word prediction software that, like on your phone, if you type in a word, it gives you like a little
Yes.
bank. So
Mhm.
we have those kind of, we have co-writer in the school system here where it's just a word prediction. So as he's typing, the word bank's coming up. So it helps with his spelling. And then I have some kids that do voice typing. They can't spell. They don't know how to sound out the letters to spell it, but yet they have thoughts and how can I help them to be? So I have a couple kids that use a headset with a mic and they
Mhm.
voice type into the computer. So the computer picks up on their voice and it's the most amazing thing to see
I,
that.
just the services and the accommodations that's available, and
Oh, yes.
particularly here at Glynn County, I'm proud of it. I brag on our county all the time to my professors and my peers, while we're on our online discussions, and I'm really thankful for you, because like I just said, my adaptive class, I could be having the worst day ever, just stuff.
Oh, yeah. Don't they?
When they walk into the gym and they're smiling and dancing, and the Yergin twins,
They're
it's
happy. They are,
Kenzie.
that's right. And I say, they are happy to see you. And that's the one thing changing from adults to kids. Kids are happy.
Hmm.
And, because some of our kids, they don't really understand how they're different, but helping them incorporate and that socialization and just helping them be successful in the classroom. If they can't cut, but I can give them some adaptive scissors,
Hmm.
or a child can't write their name, but guess what? We get them name stamps, so they can press the button, and their name goes on their paper. And guess what? That's how they write. That's how they put their name on the paper. So we're successful. So I have fun with just being able to be creative. How can
Hmm.
I have to, you have to use your head and like, how can I make them be successful in the classroom? So
Like
that's
your example of breaking the crayon to work on your grip,
oh
it's like that. You're right. Like
simple,
the crayon
simple.
goes from being this big to this big, so
You have to hold, yeah,
you got to focus on it. You
yep,
got to work on it, man. That's awesome.
yep.
That's really good. That's really good.
It's taken about 15 years of experience, but I got it now.
You got it down pat. All right. Whenever you work with the student, well, we ask you that. We ask you that. Can you provide services at home, or are you willing to provide services, outside of the school setting?
I can't, yeah, outside of the school setting, I do not provide services to
Okay.
kids. Sometimes that can be a conflict because I see the child in school to be able to do it on a private I guess that's what you're asking, whether I provide a service to a child in the school system, and then I see them privately as
Yeah.
well.
Yes, ma'am.
Usually I can't say that we do that.
Okay.
Now our kids do get private therapy, and not every child, but we do. Um, they can go to the hospital and get private OT services. Our clinical model and our education model are different. So I may not do range of motion stretches. I may not do strengthening in the school because I'm focused on how am I going to get their educational goals.
Yes.
That does not mean that if I have a child that has cerebral palsy and their arms are tight, but yet I want them to reach and grasp their crayon, that I'm not going to stretch them out. But that's not my full focus. Whereas clinically, that can be more of the focus. But we do overlap some. But I personally do not provide private. I work in the school system, and I work till 4 o'clock every day.
So
So that's
yeah.
pretty much the day.
Yes.
So.
Okay. So do you think that is either one more important to master, clinical or educational goals, or do they both merge and marry together equally
Um, I,
for the long term, thinking long term for the student, into adulthood?
okay. So first of all, I think early intervention is the best. And we have a program here called Leaps and Bounds. And
Mhm.
those are kids can come in at age 3 once they're tested. And you have to be under the umbrella of special education in the school system to receive my service.
Mhm.
I can't serve a child that's not under our special ed service. I think the more therapy a child gets earlier is the best. I think if a child can get therapy in school and outside of school, that is the best. I do have some communication as long as the parent gives us permission to contact the therapist on the outside so we can all kind of be on the same page to some extent. And I know a lot of times parents will share the IEP
Yes.
with their outside therapist because we have goals, just like the outside therapy is going to have goals. Outside therapy, sometimes Medicaid, um, limits how much therapy they can get or their private insurance. School is free and appropriate. So nothing's going to impact your service here at school.
Okay. All right. Based on the responsibilities of both yourself being an OT and a physical therapist, which would you think the students would most benefit from in the classroom?
Oh, now that's a trick question.
I had to throw one in. It's all
Well,
right if you're biased. It's okay.
I know, of course I'm biased, but let me tell you this. So the county here has one physical therapist that travels around. And so we may not always see each other because I may be at one school while she's at another.
Is that Miss
Um,
Angela?
yeah,
Yeah.
Angela,
Okay.
Meg, yeah.
Mhm.
But it's just like this week, she she emailed or texted me and said, "How about this? Can we try this together?" So we don't do therapy together. We have in the past, but our numbers are so high that it's hard to get my schedule and hers together. But we do. We are aware if we have a common child that gets OT and PT, we are aware of each other's goals. And so, like, this one child this week, Angela sees her, um, and she had her up in the gait trainer. Well, I can have her in the gait trainer and she can be at the desk standing doing work with me. Okay. So she's getting her standing time, getting her physical, giving her that out of her wheelchair and into her gait trainer while
Mhm.
she's working with me. So I think I'm going to go back to my all time favorite answer is that we work as a team.
Yeah.
I'm not a physical therapist, but that doesn't mean I can't have a child stand or I can't stretch their arms. I mean, because that's going to help them be successful. So I think we kind of overlap a little bit, but we're always aware of that child's needs. Fine motor, gross motor, whatever.
Okay. All right. Just a few more. How do you communicate with a nonverbal student? And know that if what you're doing is helping them.
Okay. I got some good answers to that. First of all, we have communication devices in the school. So the speech therapist usually kind of puts that in place, and that can range from a child having their own communication personal device, which can have all these different cells, what we call cells, which are buttons they can use, and it's programmed. A child can tell, hello, good morning. I have a child that's on hospital homebound, and one of her communication things, we made a flag for one of our uh, activities. And so now she's using her button to mash for the Pledge of Allegiance. She can't say it, but she can mash the button, and she knows that her little hand goes up to her heart. We use a lot of, if kids have communication devices, we use them, incorporate them. We have, also, we have a lot of visuals. Like I have a program where I can cut out pictures. So for my nonverbal kids, I can give them choices. Do you want to paint in red or green today? And they make a choice of what color. I can give them, we have kids that have trouble sitting, or we have symbols that they can use. Okay, I need you to be quiet. Okay, look here, I need you to be sitting. And so we use a lot of visuals in our therapies. For kids that can't write or are nonverbal, a lot of times I'll give them choices of pictures, and we'll and I'm especially in our access classes. Miss Busby. She's an awesome tech
Yeah,
person. I mean, very. I
yes,
don't ever worked with her, but I would love to. She's got it going.
she's on top of it.
Yeah, yeah. Yep.
Yes, absolutely.
So we
I,
use a lot of
I work,
communication devices and visuals for for the kids that can't communicate.
okay. So how would you adjust your therapy methods, like if need be? So let's say, you're providing services for jail and it's just not working right now. You're not meeting the goals at a pace that you would like, as well as according to the IEP. How would you adjust your therapy method?
Okay, so there was, for example, there is a child that he wasn't meeting the goals, and so I talked to the teacher because I don't hold the goals by myself. I'm working in collaboration with the teacher goals and assisting in how do we make. So we brainstorm. So this child was supposed to. He is a non-writer. He's nonverbal, diagnosis with autism. Has a hard time sitting. He is very up and moving around, having a hard time sitting. So he has a parapro that kind of works with him, mostly one-on-one. So we talked about, first of all, we've got to do some calming strategies to kind of help him regulate his body because he can't help it. But so he doesn't hold the pencil, crayon. He doesn't even look. He's like this. So our goal was to recognize his name and his picture. Well, recognize his name. And I said, well, he's not going to recognize his name because he doesn't even understand what those letters are. So
Mhm.
we took a picture of him and we put a picture of him with his name. Now this is me. This is me. You touch this, this is me. And he builds the letter because he's not a writer. I also am ordering him a name stamp so he can mash the button and his name goes on his paper. And he builds the letter to his name. Like if his name starts with the letter I, so we work on tracing uppercase I, but we use color, and we also have him. When you do an uppercase I, it's a little line at the top, a big line down, and a little line at the bottom. So we color coded it. I colored in the top part of the I is like, let's say, red. And then he takes a red piece and puts it there and it Velcros on. And then the long line is blue. So then I cut out a piece of blue and we laminate everything so it lasts longer and they don't tear it too or put it in their mouths. And then he puts the long letter there. He matches the blue color on the paper with his blue piece. And so how am I going to get his attention? I mean, so that's how we do it. You just use color code things because if I can't get him visually attending, then coloring it. That's what sometimes I let kids, instead of our paper, everything's black and white.
Mhm.
So when our kids are trying to do work, sometimes run it off on a different colored paper. Make it fun. Let's
Yes.
write in colored pencils, for goodness. Why does it always have to be black and white? It doesn't. But
So
it takes a little bit of time, a little bit of extra time. So
that's
anyway,
your 15 years of experience. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
You're awesome. All right. Last question. What are some effective strategies or advice that you have for myself being a PE teacher that I can use to assist our students?
Okay, so let me think about that for a minute. I think our kids do not get a lot of exercise, number one. So when I'm talking about our kids, I'm talking about our special ed kids, whether their bodies won't allow them to move. And sometimes the families have difficulty. It's balancing their time of taking care of that child's needs, and that's the primary need. Sometimes movement and exercise is not going to be on the top of it because sometimes they have to feed their child. Maybe they don't have the movement, so they're having to you know um, help them with toileting and those things. So really, movement is not probably high on their list because they just don't have time. It's basic needs. So I think as a coach or a PE teacher, movement is very important for our kids. I think it helps them with strengthening, with coordination. It also helps them get that extra movement out. So when they go back to class, they can kind of calm down and get settled and be ready to work. I think kids want to move. I think you make it fun. All kids love going to gym. They do. It's something extra. It's special to go have fun. And I think a lot of our kids, especially now in the world we live in, they're not getting out and about, and things are stressful probably at home. I mean, I think we've all felt that stress, and so coming to school is most kids want to be in school. They want to be around their kids. It's a social time too.
Mm-hmm.
And, as we're working on gross motor skills that can help us move back into the classroom and carry through, I think we all are as a team. Did that answer it? I think.
That absolutely did. That absolutely did. So some things that, I do in the room, in the gym. Well, first of all, our students, like our general education students, are amazing. I could just recall, my time in grade school and being in PE. I don't ever think I've had a PE class where the adaptive class was in there with us. So for us to do that at Glynn County, and they get an opportunity to integrate and interact with our general education students, and those students are playing basketball with our kids, or they're dancing, or making TikToks, or having relays. Right. Like it's really awesome to see. So I have a few students who love to listen to music. So I bring out the speaker that we use for basketball games.
Oh, wow. Yes.
That has turned into, karaoke, but now they are like having full-blown dances. And that's another way that they can get the exercise and, their motor skills.
Right.
I have about like Gustav.
Yeah.
You remember Gustav from Glen Middle?
Yeah.
Gustav or Jurgen love basketball.
Yeah.
So, and I'm a basketball coach, so we play pickup basketball games, and it's just been awesome. So it's been great to pick your brain, and you're extremely knowledgeable and innovative, and I just really, really, really appreciate everything.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. When I love my job. I mean, it's hard. I mean, I think teaching across the board is hard right now, but we're adapting, and we just, I keep in mind that the kids need our support. They need it. And the families need it. Sometimes they don't fully understand what we do at school, but, and sometimes, we may be the only therapies these kids get. So, but I love it, and best of luck with your schooling and master. Maybe one day we'll get to see each other. I don't think I've been to Glynn Academy at all this year. I mean, like I said, I see the kids that come up from Glen Middle go either to Glynn Academy or Brunswick High. So I know a lot of the kids, but I don't necessarily come there. So,
well, hopefully, in our COVID season, once it passes, we'll be able to meet and have a formal introduction.
Right.
But thank you greatly for your time.
It was fun. I enjoyed it. I don't get to do this often. We're interviewing for a new OT, so I get to do that, but never like anybody really interviewing me. So that was kind of a fun way to end my day. So happy long weekend, right?
Yes.
That's why we work in the school system, right? For these holidays.
So enjoyable, yes.
No.
4-day weekend. Definitely gonna enjoy it.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, you enjoy it. Thank you very much.
You're quite welcome. All right.
I'll see you later.
Okay. Bye.